The industrial saboteur known as the Ghost first appeared in Iron Man number 219 to 221 in 1987. As a part of his plan to build up Stark Enterprises after losing his old company, Stark International, to Obadiah Stane, Tony Stark intended to acquire a company called Accutech and their prototype Beta Particle Generator. It seemed the only other bid for Accutech came from the Roxxon Oil Company, which the Accutech board of directors were leery of due to their shady reputation. Other potential buyers were apparently scared off by a string of bad luck afflicting the company, which an executive named Abraham Zimmer attributed to someone called the Ghost. However, the others at Accutech denied his existence. Regardless, Tony Stark proceeded with his plan, taking a loan in order to acquire Accutech. Of course, before the ink was dry on the contracts, the security alarm rang out at what was now Stark's new building. Tony ducked out to change into his armor, this being at a time when only a select few knew that Tony Stark and Iron Man were one and the same, and went to investigate the source of the trouble. While nothing appeared on infrared or ultraviolet vision, Stark detected a nearby heartbeat, and when he turned to face it, out of nowhere appeared the Ghost. While the Ghost fled, passing through solid walls, Iron Man gave chase in his own, less subtle way. Using the sound of his heartbeat to find him, the armored Avenger followed the Ghost and stunned him with a bombardment of sonic waves. However, when the spectral saboteur tossed an explosive device at the onlooking security staff, Iron Man was forced to release him in order to protect his new employees. The Ghost escaped, leaving behind a threat on the life of Tony Stark, which left Iron Man rattled and paranoid. Meanwhile, at the West Coast headquarters of the Roxxon Oil Corporation, we learn that Roxxon, of course, were the ones who hired the Ghost to take out Accutech. However, when they attempted to cancel his contract after his failure, even going so far as to allow him to keep the money paid to him, the Ghost refused to stop, forcing Roxxon to call in another operative. Over at Stark Enterprises, Tony was alternating between attempting to complete the beta generator to make Accutech profitable and working on his Iron Man armor. When another Tony Stark was reportedly seen elsewhere in the building and the Iron Man suit was not yet ready for battle, Tony sent Rhodey to retrieve the red and gold suit that he had used during his time as Iron Man. In the penthouse of the same building, the man appearing to be Tony Stark was quietly working at his desk when the Ghost emerged from the wall and quickly shot him. However, the fake Stark survived the attack and retaliated, shooting the Ghost with an energy siphon, disabling his tech, before revealing himself to be the supervillain known as Spy Master. The real Stark arrived, and even though he knew it would be in his best interest to allow Spy Master to finish off the Ghost, he could not allow a man to be shot in cold blood right in front of him. Stark and Spy Master exchanged shots while the Ghost crawled over to some exposed power cables, which he used to overload the power siphon and restore his abilities. The Ghost disappeared through the floor while Spy Master ran off to track him. Meanwhile, Rhodey found himself unable to don the Iron Man armor as he once did, for he still bared the scars from the last time he wore it and nearly burned alive. Instead, while Spy Master and the Ghost fought, Rhodey brought the suit to Tony. Tony had his own qualms about wearing his old armor due to associating it with his battle with alcoholism, but ultimately decided that he had little choice in the matter. Iron Man arrived on the scene, and while he attempted to calm the nearby civilians, the Ghost proposed a truce with Spy Master, allowing him to use one of his intangibility circuits to phase through the wall. However, while Spy Master was only halfway through, the Ghost removed the circuit from Spy Master, killing him instantly. The Ghost escaped again, and later that week, Tony Stark held a meeting with his investors to discuss the potential in the Beta Particle Generator. The Ghost arrived to assassinate Stark, but it proved to be a trap as the Tony Stark present was merely a hologram, and the investors were actually armed security personnel. Iron Man, of course, arrived on the scene as well, but the Ghost sent out several timed explosives, and while Iron Man disabled most of them, one of them exploded, injuring several men, while the Ghost took a hostage and escaped. The Ghost's heartbeat no longer registered on his sensors, but Iron Man was able to track the hostage's body heat. However, when he found the hostage dead, he realized that the Ghost likely killed him after getting the location of the beta generator. Iron Man rushed to the generator as Rhodey activated an electric force field around it. While Iron Man's suit was shielded against the force field, it disrupted the Ghost's tech. However, the Ghost was obsessed with destroying corporations and began trudging towards the generator. The closer he got, the more his suit overheated. Iron Man wanted to shut down the field and save the Ghost's life, but if he did so, the Ghost would have destroyed the generator, dooming his company and leaving hundreds of employees jobless. Ultimately, Tony left the Ghost to the fate he'd chosen for himself, and as he reached the beta generator, his overheating suit burned a hole in the floor, sending him falling downward. When Iron Man flew down to investigate, he found only a melting pile of slag and machinery. It seemed the Ghost was dead. But of course, the Ghost reappeared in Iron Man number 238 to 240, where he attacked Electronica Fabrizi, a company belonging to Tony Stark's business rival, Justin Hammer. With his upgraded suit and new ability to hack into machines, the Ghost defeated the three supervillains protecting his buildings, Blacklash, Blizzard, and Boomerang, forcing Hammer to turn to Tony Stark for help. Stark agreed to send Iron Man after the Ghost in exchange for Hammer releasing Donnie Gill, aka Blizzard, who Hammer had coaxed into a life of crime. And so Iron Man battled the Ghost again. This time, during the battle, the Ghost affixed an intangibility module to Iron Man's armor. Unable to grasp solid objects or remove the device, Iron Man would have eventually starved to death, but fortunately, after the Ghost escaped again, Rhodey arrived on the scene. Iron Man activated an internal electromagnetic pulse, temporarily disabling his armor and anything attached to it. This shut down the module the Ghost attached to him, but without his armor's strength, Rhodey was forced to shoot the module to destroy it. While Iron Man and Rhodey were preparing to battle the Ghost again, Hammer's team of villains arrived to help. The heroes and villains confronted the Ghost, but the villains turned on Iron Man, revealing that they had been ordered to destroy both of Hammer's enemies. However, during the confusion, the Ghost was able to plant an explosive device to destroy Electronica Fabrizi, forcing everyone to escape. From the heart of the fiery inferno, the Ghost cackled, having successfully destroyed another company. The Ghost appeared several more times over the years before eventually joining the supervillain team the Thunderbolts while it was under the command of Norman Osborn during the Dark Reign. However, the Ghost betrayed Osborn during his siege on Asgard, which secured him a spot in the reformed Thunderbolts when the team was put under the command of Luke Cage in an attempt to use the villains for good. We eventually learned some of the Ghost's backstory in Thunderbolts number 151 in 2011. In this issue, the Ghost decides to finally reveal some of his past to his teammate Carla Sofin, aka Moonstone. Before becoming the Ghost, he apparently worked for an IT firm called Omnisapient Systems. The higher-ups at the company, the Coleman brothers, Charles and Neil, and a woman named Dana, put him in charge of their newest experimental project. He devoted himself to the work and developed a processor that was able to store an incredible amount of data by turning intangible before it overheated, a process they nicknamed Ghost Tech. He even took the time to help his fellow employees, such as the beautiful young Shauna, but Charles Coleman didn't want him wasting his valuable time. This mindset was exacerbated when the man who would later become the Ghost needed to refocus, seemingly losing 2 months' worth of work, which was leading to a dead end. However, Neil Coleman was confident that the man would solve the problems in the tech, which pushed him to work even harder, never even leaving his work to go home. While the project was in its testing phases, the man intended to take some time off, while Shauna contacted him and the two grew close, as the man felt renewed and completed his work with new vigor. However, his happiness didn't last as Shauna met her end in a tragic house fire. He plunged himself into his work, performing radical new experiments in secret, affixing the ghost tech to himself so he could project his mind into the omnisapient computer databanks, learning all of their dark secrets. He found that not only was Shauna coerced into her relationship with him by their corporate overlords, but when she tried to extort more money, they hired an assassin to arrange the fire that took her life. The man returned home to plan his next move, but it seemed Omnisapient was ready to dispose of him as well, and his apartment erupted into flame. However, the heat from the fire activated the ghost tech in his body, turning the man intangible, allowing him to survive as a living ghost. With his new power, his first act as the ghost was to find and murder his bosses and the assassin they had sent after him. He then continued to refine his technology, hacking into government computers to erase any evidence of the man he once was. He became a ghost haunting corporations who oppress and exploit people so that the rich can reap the rewards. While we can't be sure how much of the story is true, if it is, it could explain how the ghost survived his suit overheating in his early encounters with Iron Man. Assuming the ghost tech was still built into his body, if his suit was hot enough to burn through the floor, the heat could have triggered the modules in his body, allowing the ghost to become intangible and simply float through the melting suit, leaving the pile of slag that Iron Man discovered. And that's what we know about the origin of the ghost. What hero or villain do you want to know about next? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more marvelous content. Until next time, true believers, Excelsior!